The British Empire never apologized. Not to India, not to Ireland, not to the Caribbean. But there is one king, one African king, who forced the most powerful empire on earth to come to his land, bow their heads, and say, "We were wrong." His name was Prempeh I, king of the Asante Empire. And the story of how he broke Britain without firing a single bullet is one of the most extraordinary acts of resistance in the history of the world. Let's talk about it.
The Asante kingdom sat in the way, and the Asante were not a people you pushed around easily. They had already defeated British forces, not once, but multiple times. Their army was disciplined, their gold was legendary, and their king commanded absolute loyalty from millions of people. But Britain had a new strategy. They didn't come with an army this time. They came with a demand. In 1896, British officials marched into Kumasi, the Asante capital, and ordered King Prempeh to surrender his sovereignty, to accept British protection, to become a subject. What happened next made the entire empire flinch. King Prempeh walked into that meeting barefoot. Not because he was poor, not because he was weak, because in Asante tradition, removing your sandals before a confrontation is a sign of supreme confidence. It says, "I do not fear what stands before me." He sat down. He looked at the British officials, and he said, calmly, without raising his voice, "The Asante nation will never commit itself to any such policy. Asante must remain as of old, at the same time to be friendly with all white men." He refused completely, publicly, in front of his own people and the British delegation. The British had not been refused like this in decades. So they did what empires do when words don't work. They arrested him. King Prempeh was taken from his palace, separated from his family, and exiled, first to Sierra Leone, then all the way to the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean, thousands of miles from home. Britain thought that would break him, that without a throne, without his people, without his land, he would fade, be forgotten. They miscalculated. In exile, Prempeh converted to Christianity, learned English, studied law, and spent every single day building the legal and moral case for his return. He wrote letters, he lobbied, he never stopped being a king, even without a kingdom. Meanwhile, back in Asante, his people refused to accept British rule. There was resistance, uprisings, and the legendary War of the Golden Stool, where an Asante queen mother named Ya Asante Wa raised an army after the British governor demanded to sit on the Asante's sacred golden throne. The spirit of Prempeh lived in his people, even when Prempeh himself could not. After 28 years in exile, 28 years, King Prempeh was finally allowed to return home. He arrived in Kumasi in 1924. The crowds that gathered to receive him were so massive that British colonial officials were visibly shaken. They had exiled a man. He returned a symbol. But the story doesn't end there. In 1935, nearly 4 decades after the British had dragged him from his throne, Prempeh was restored as the Asante Haini, the king of Asante, officially, publicly. And the British government, the same government that had arrested him, humiliated him, exiled him across an ocean, sent a formal delegation to acknowledge that the annexation of Asante had been unjust. It was as close to an apology as the British Empire ever gave to an African king. And he had lived to see it. Prempeh I died in 1931, 4 years before his full restoration, but not before watching the empire that exiled him begin to bend. He never raised an army against Britain. He never fired a shot. His weapons were dignity, patience,
legal intelligence, and an unshakable belief that history would correct itself if you refused to disappear. He was right. The Asante people never forgot who they were. Their golden stool, the sacred symbol of their soul as a nation, was never surrendered. It is in Kumasi to this day. And Prempeh's name sits alongside the greatest acts of resistance in human history, not because of the battles he fought, but because of the ones he refused to lose, even from an island thousands of miles away. That is what dignity looks like under pressure. If this story moved you, share it, because some kings never needed a battlefield to win a war. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.